Welcome back to Echoes of Empire, the channel where history's darkest shadows still speak. Before we begin, I want you to do something. Close your eyes for just 3 seconds and imagine this. It's a cold California night. A couple sits parked by a quiet lake, radio playing softly, windows fogged. And then silence. What comes next shattered an entire nation and haunts investigators to this very day. This is the story of the Zodiac killer, America's most terrifying unsolved nightmare, a ghost in a cipher, a monster who wrote his own mythology in blood and ink. Stay with me, because this story does not end where you think it does. It was December 20th, 1968, just days before Christmas in Benicia, California. Two teenagers, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, were found shot dead on a rural road. It appeared random, brutal, and devastatingly cold. Police had very little to go on, but what investigators could not have known in that frozen December moment was that this was only the beginning, that the killer who pulled that trigger was not done. He was just getting started, and worse, he wanted the whole world to watch. 6 months later, on July 4th, 1969, the killer struck again, this time near Vallejo, California. Darlene Ferrin was killed, and Michael Mageau was left critically wounded. Mageau survived, a miracle, and would later become one of the few people to ever look the Zodiac killer in the eyes and live. He described a stocky white male, middle-aged, with light-colored hair. It was a description that would haunt sketch artists for decades, and then something unprecedented happened. The killer did not disappear into the shadows like most monsters do. He wrote letters, 3 of them, sent simultaneously to 3 separate Bay Area newspapers, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald. In those letters, he claimed responsibility for the murders, demanded his letters be printed on the front page, and if they were not, he threatened to go on a killing rampage that would last the entire weekend. Attached to each letter was 1/3 of a strange coded cipher, a 408-symbol cryptogram that he claimed revealed his identity. The newspapers printed the letters. The public panicked. The FBI was baffled. And just like that, a legend was born. Weeks later, another letter arrived. This time, the killer gave himself a name. He signed it with a crosshair symbol, a circle with a cross through it, and called himself the Zodiac. It was theatrical, deliberate, and chilling. He was not just a murderer. He was a showman, a strategist, someone who understood that fear is most powerful when it has a name. On September 27th, 1969, the Zodiac attacked again, this time at Lake Berryessa in Napa County. He approached 2 college students. He tied them up, spoke calmly, and then stabbed them both. Cecilia Shepard died 2 days later. Brian Hartnell somehow survived. Before leaving the scene, the Zodiac scrawled the dates of his attacks on the door of Hartnell's car with a felt tip pen, as if leaving a receipt for his crimes. Less than 2 weeks later, on October 11th, 1969, San Francisco cab driver Paul Stein was shot in the head in the Presidio Heights neighborhoods. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, wearing a bizarre executioner-style hood, with that same crosshair symbol sewn onto the chaseod. This time, the Zodiac was almost caught. 2 teenagers witnessed the shooting from a nearby window and called police. Officers were dispatched, but due to a miscommunication in the description, they let a white male matching the killer's description walk right past them in the dark. He vanished. Again. This time, the Zodiac wrote again, and this time he included something stomach-turning, a piece of Paul Stein's blood-soaked shirt. He sent it as proof, as a trophy. The letters kept coming, each one more cryptic, more chilling, more theatrical than the last. He claimed at various points to have killed as many as 37 people. Official confirmed victims remain at 5 dead and 2 wounded, but many investigators believe the true number is far higher. The ciphers he sent remain one of the most haunting aspects of the entire case. The first 408-symbol cipher was cracked within weeks by a schoolteacher named Donald Hardin and his wife, Betty. What they decoded was bone-chilling, a manifesto of a man who believed that killing people would give him slaves in the afterlife. He wrote that he would not give his name because it would slow down or stop the collecting of slaves. He was not just killing. He believed he was building an empire of the dead. But the second cipher, The 340-character cryptogram sent in November 1969 resisted every codebreaker for more than 50 years. It was finally cracked in December 2020 by an international team of amateur codebreakers using modern computational methods. The decoded message stated that he hoped the police would have fun trying to catch him, that he was not afraid of the gas chamber, and that death would not be the end for him. Even from across half a century, the message still manages to raise the hairs on the back of your neck. Dozens of suspects have been investigated over the decades. One of the most persistent is Arthur Leigh Allen, a convicted child molester from Vallejo who matched survivor descriptions, wore a Zodiac brand watch, and was placed near multiple crime scenes. He was investigated multiple times, had his home searched, and was considered the prime suspect by many detectives who worked the case. Yet DNA evidence collected in 2002 did not match, and Allen died in 1992 without ever being charged. Whether Allen was the Zodiac or whether someone managed to plant or contaminate the DNA evidence remains hotly debated to this very day. The Zodiac's letters stopped after 1974, though investigators never officially declared the case closed. He was never caught. He was never identified. He simply stopped, or perhaps he moved. Perhaps he died. Perhaps he is still out there, old now, sitting somewhere quiet, watching documentaries about himself, smiling. That uncertainty is perhaps the most terrifying thing of all. The Zodiac killer represents something deeper than a single criminal case. He represents the moment when America's sense of safety in its own suburban neighborhoods began to fracture. He was a reminder that evil does not always announce itself with horns and claws. Sometimes it writes you a letter. Sometimes it sends a cipher. Sometimes it signs its name with a crosshair and dares you to find it. Investigations continue to this day. The case remains open with the FBI and with multiple California law enforcement agencies. New technology, new DNA analysis techniques, and new generations of dedicated investigators keep revisiting the evidence. Advances in genetic genealogy, the same technology that caught the Golden State Killer, have been applied to the Zodiac case. The world is watching, and the clock is still ticking. The Zodiac may have believed he was building a kingdom of slaves in another life. What he actually built was a mystery that refuses to die, a shadow that has stretched across more than 5 decades and still falls over California like a cold fog on a winter night. That is the terrifying, twisted, utterly unresolved legend of the Zodiac Killer. And it is one of the many dark echoes that this channel exists to keep alive, because history, even its most disturbing chapters, demands to be remembered that if you made it this far, you are exactly the kind of curious, fearless mind that belongs in this community. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss another story from Echoes of Empire. Drop your theories about the Zodiac in the comments below. Who do you think he was? Was it Allen? Someone else entirely? Let's talk about it. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and remember, some echoes never fade. This has been Echoes of Empire. We'll see you in the shadows.